Well, folks, I learned a big lesson over the weekend and a very harsh lesson, and a lesson that I think we could all learn. As you all know, I've been fighting for Australia, for Australian freedoms, and at times, my stand on things such as radical Islam, not all people of the Islamic faith. And in my haste, I was sent a photo about what Australia is transitioning to. And in this photo, there was a picture of a whole bunch of white folk, and it said, Australia has gone from being about this. And then at the top was a photo of people that I've come to love, and I didn't realize Indian Sikh people. And I went to bed, and I woke up the next morning, and my beautiful, wonderful friend, Guru Gutpa, who I've known for 15 years, said, Pat, what's this about? We're not what you think we are. And I went, what have I done? I mistakenly assumed that it was an Islamic thing. And even so, that might not have been the right thing to do. And my great friend Guru Gutpa explained to me the history of the Sikh people in this country. I'm the son of an immigrant. And the first thing I want to do is I want to apologize to every single person that saw that, and to anyone that I offended. Not that took offense, that I offended. I need to own that. I'm not going to say if it offended you, it was wrong. And that's a lesson for all of us, because a lot of us, and I know this even from my own experience, you read my descriptions and straight away you make comments rather than listening to the comment. Or you see a photo and go, oh yeah, this aligns, and bang, you post it without thinking whether it's true. And I remember during the pandemic, when I posted a video of a guy that I did not like, by the way, of the name of Brad Hazard, and they made like a 30-minute presentation he did into a 2-minute soundbite, and it was fake and it was wrong. Some memes are funny, some memes are hurtful, and they're not necessary. And to the beautiful Sikh community, Indian community in this country, I want to apologize and say I'm sorry. And so I've asked my great friend Guru Gutpa to come in, and we're going to talk about, right now, a war has broken out today in India and Pakistan. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about immigration, the good and the bad, and we're going to talk about his experience. Guru, thank you so much. And once again, my apologies. And I want to thank you for your correction. We've been friends a long time.
Thank you, Pat. And thank you for the introduction. I believe that as friends, one of our responsibilities should be to, if we see something wrong, we should say, hey, are you aware that you did this wrong? And I only did that because I care about you. You're a dear friend. If you were some random guy off the side of the street, I'd go back and ignore it, and it's only because I love you as a friend. And I know that, even though we may be of different religions, we share the same values, because, our values are very closely aligned, even though we may interpret them as different religions. And I actually, believe it or not, I'm actually part of 2 different religions. That's my historical background. But, and I believe that part of our value system is that we also learn from our mistakes and move and correct them, as well as forgive each other. And that was one of the greatest lessons of Jesus, right? Forgiveness is a core lesson that Jesus taught us.
Correct. Guru, let me ask you, you're a successful businessman. Your property company is called Ethical Properties, and I know you're a great man of ethics. Let me ask you, what brought you to this country?
Well, it's interesting. So I was born in India. I left there when I was 1 year old. We actually moved to Dubai. Now, back then, Dubai was just one road and a gold souk and nothing really much else. And my dad's passport was held by his ex-employer, and quite illegally. It was basically human rights abuse, right? And we were given basically a week to leave the country. And at that point in time, Australia had opened its immigration up in the late 80s. To skilled immigrants, and Dad was fairly highly skilled. He's got a master's, Mum's got a PhD. So as a family, we were really quite qualified effectively, and that brought us to the country in 1990. And boy, we landed during the recession we had to have, and that was an interesting experience. And really my first introduction into really working truly hard for what you want, because
Mm.
nothing was easy when we moved to the country.
Yeah. I think, you know, Guru, I think one of the problems with that we got with immigration is, like you said, skilled immigration. And right
Mm.
now, I'm sure you agree, we're bringing a lot of people that are problematic to our culture. And
I agree with you, by the way.
and I know that you have been the victim of racism in this country, and as have I been an
Mm.
Italian immigrant son. The English is my second language. People say Italian, as I say, no, Calabrian is, and that's that's
Just
where
don't
I'm
introduce
from.
yourself to a Sicilian, right?
Yeah. Well,
Um,
no, well, don't ever tell a Calabrese Sicilian. You get a war like between Pakistan
yes.
and India right now. But tell me your family trauma that got you here, and tell me your experience of racism in this country as you've had it as a family.
Yes, and so I'll start off with the racism experience of racism, and basically, as I was growing up, I realized there were so few Indians around back then that
Mm,
everything we did reflected on us as a race. As so individually, I grew up with an understanding. I had to be an upstanding citizen because I was representing a whole culture of people,
mm, mm.
right? That was my introduction into the country. Now, things have changed a little bit, but one interesting thing we do with people of different color, I've noticed, especially in the last 4 or 5 months,
Mm,
in Australia, is when someone of a particular color does something,
mm.
other people assume it's a whole race that they're representing. And I
Yeah.
really want to make sure people understand that it may not be the race. Now, if there's a pattern, sure, right?
Mm,
But if it's one person doing one thing, it doesn't mean that that's the entire race.
mm,
That's really important to know.
mm.
Now, as I said, if there's a pattern, I'm
Yeah.
completely against that.
Yeah.
And you know the patterns quite well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And we've seen them. I mean, I know my beliefs about immigration are, hey, we need great immigration. But the problem is that a lot of people go off on a tangent. It's like saying, oh, all Italians are in the mafia. Well, no, they're not. And those that are don't tell you. So, but, or, it's like saying, oh, and I've made the mistake, oh, all Australians are lazy, dole bludging bastards, Um, I could say that, but I know that's not the case. And I
We
apologize if
leave
that
that kind of
offends
sledging for
anybody.
the cricket ground.
Yeah, that's right. But what has changed in the last few months or last 4 months?
It's interesting the rhetoric that's changed. And I mean, there's multiple incidents, but one that really sticks in my head. I was
Mm,
watching commentary from
yeah.
one of the debates, and these people did, it was Dutton versus Albanese, the first debate at Sky News, um, and then there was some commentary on the side, and then apparently there's a lady from Indian origin get up, and this guy who was second generation, just like you, right?
Yeah.
Uh, he got up like, this is the problem in the country. I'm not talking about immigration in general. Yeah, the first generation is the problem. Second generation is the problem. I'm like, are you? I don't want to use the a derogatory word. Like, what are you, stupid? Like, we're
Yeah, he
all.
probably is.
Yeah, I mean, hold on. Like, a person is a person, regardless of what
Mm,
accent they have. It's
mm.
what they bring to the country. Because my belief is, Pat, every immigrant to the country, here's your responsibility to raise the commonwealth of our nation.
Wow, beautiful. Well said.
Right? We
Well said.
our responsibility is to make the country richer. You know when you get like a bland piece of chicken. Have you
Mm,
tried boiled chicken? It tastes like crap.
mm.
But what happens as soon as you add spices to it, it
Yeah.
starts tasting good. That is what immigration should do to a country.
You made me chuckle then because I went straight to butter chicken.
Oh man, butter
But not
chicken.
the one at the
There's
I want to eat it at your house. So let me ask you, are you Australian or are you Indian?
both.
Both.
Why not both? Like the girl at the taco ad, right? Why not both?
Mm.
Why not? And an analogy I've come to take on recently
Yep. Yep.
is that India is my mother
Yeah.
because I was born there, but
Yeah.
Australia is who I'm married to.
Yeah. Beautiful
And
analogy.
I consider marriage a very sacred,
Yeah.
a very sacred,
Yeah.
thing to take on. And if I'm committed to marriage, I'm committed. That's my family now.
Mm. And that's how I see myself. There's things. I'm Australian born, so I'm Australian born. My older brothers and sisters aren't. They're born
Yeah.
over there. But here's the thing: we love this country,
Mm.
and I think people that love this country are welcome in our country. People that don't
Yes.
love our country and our values, and mind you, I've got to say there are people that are born in this country. Listen to me, Australia, that don't love this country. Adolf Bandit, I call him, is one of them. Adolf Bandit. Let's hope the good Lord answers our prayer, and there's one good thing that
Yes.
comes out of this election.
Yes.
But we've got to love our country. And you know what? You can be mad with Australia. You can be angry at Australia. You can, am I myth that Albanese got in? Yeah, but I've got to say something. I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, but you all know me. I don't worship at the shrine of Facebook followers. Maybe the good Lord is sending Australia a message that we need to wake up, and realize how good and how blessed we are to have, at this point, certain freedoms in this country, and not despise our resources and our people. Let me ask you another thing. When you mentioned to me family trauma that happened to you, are you
Yes.
allowed to elaborate on that at some
Yes. So
tangible
let me
radicals?
elaborate. So my family actually historically isn't from what's now known as India.
Mm,
It's from the country which we now know as Pakistan,
wow,
right? We came as refugees to India, believe it or not,
wow.
right? And that's not uncommon. This is a story of millions of people. And by the one of the largest, um, one of the in that movement, that was the largest movement of people within the shortest period of time that ever happened when we had someone from Britain draw a freaking line through literally a state where some houses were on either sides of the state and say, great, let's separate the country by religion. Let's put the Muslim people here and the Hindu people here. Oh, by the way, we're going to create two Muslim states on either side of India. By the way,
Mm,
let's see how that's played out, and I'll go back to the story. Do you know there's more Muslim people in India now than Pakistan? So that
no,
situation didn't play out, did it? Right?
no.
So segregating my personal belief is segregating people based on religion
Mm,
will always lead to Wahhabism and extremism.
yeah,
The more we integrate into the communities, the less problems we have.
yeah, yeah.
Right. And look, now I'm from my granddad's effectively second wife. His first wife was basically killed in front of his eyes while he was making the transition from India to Pakistan. He was the happiest guy until he used to hear his night terrors every night. Every night until he passed away, he had night terrors.
Wow,
And
wow. That's a sad
and
story.
and I'm against, and it was the pushing, the manipulation of people to become more and more religiously extreme that
Mm,
caused this.
yeah. Radicalness on any level, on any religion, leads to death and destruction. I
Yes.
mean, you know me, I'm pro-life, anti-abortion, but I would never condone someone going into a clinic and doing something, blowing it up or shooting someone. I mean, that is just, it doesn't work. And the funny thing is, they're actually doing the very thing that they say they're for, which is pro-life.
Mm.
And Guru, let me ask you, the history of Sikhism in this country. I mean, you said something to
Yes.
you said, Pat, we've been here for 100 years.
Yeah.
Tell
So
us about
just I'm primarily Hindu, but I'm also partly Sikh from my mum's side, and
it. Mm,
so I wear both with pride because I believe you can be, and I know some of your listeners may disagree, but it's okay to disagree. I believe I can espouse values of both faiths,
mm, mm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and because they're both so powerful in what they've got to teach us. Now, the
Mm,
history of Sikhism in this country, so you might notice that there's a lot of Indians in Fiji, right? The way they got there, they were taken over there as slaves over 100 years ago. And on the second wave of slave ships, they took over Sikhs with them, not just the people from the poorer areas, but they took some Sikhs over there.
wow.
Now, the Sikhs realized this on the way over, and on the stop in Australia, they escaped. They didn't want to be slaves because their history is so proud. By the way, the Indian Army even though it's only the 0.5% of the population is Sikh, there's some high number now. I'm verbatim here. It's like 50% Sikh or 40% Sikh. That's how strong we believe we're the peacekeepers of the region, right? Now, so the Sikhs got off because they're not beholden to be slaves. They're a strong people, and they got off in Coffs Harbour, and they brought with them banana plantations. So the reason why Australia and North Queensland has a banana plantation right now is because the Sikhs brought it with them.
Wow.
And a lot of our farms, till date, whether you go to northern New South Wales, whether you go to South Australia, are run by Sikhs because they're a proud farming history that they've had
Wow.
for hundreds of years, almost 1,000 years. Now, 100 years ago, they came to this country.
Oh.
So you can go to Woolgoolga, which is just north of Coffs Harbour, and you'll see people dressed in full Sikh garb but talk like the most Oka Yoba Aussies you'd ever hear in your life. And it's the funniest thing to see. It's kind of like, it just blows your mind because they've got the long beards and they've got the
I love
turbans
it.
on, and it's like Shazza
Yeah.
level conversations.
And that's what we want in Australia.
Yeah.
I years ago, one of the first Italian restaurants in Sydney was a restaurant called Beppy's Restaurants at Surrey Hills. And Mr. Beppy's passed away now. He used to say to me, Pat, when I came to this country and I started cooking eggplant or, certain different Italian things, he said, I was spat on, I was beaten up. He said, now it's a standard fare food that people have.
Yeah.
And it's funny how different cultures have brought so many things. I say to people in the Italians, we came, we saw, we concreted, so and, uh, but you think the food and all of these beautiful things, and that's what makes Australia great.
Yes.
Um,
Now, I want to add something to what we're talking about Sikhism. And recently, I am in the same boat as you and a lot of you listeners. I'm pissed at what Daniel Andrews did. I live in Victoria.
yeah.
He's ruined our state, right?
Mm.
And you know what happened in that time when people were locked in their houses and weren't allowed to work? The Sikhs got out there and did food drives to the people that didn't have enough food, and they still do regular food drives to this day.
Mm. Mm.
It's about giving back community, especially through, as you
Mm.
mentioned, food, which is something you love. But that's how we reconnect with the community because the
Yeah.
Sikh religion believes that every person should be fed in order to be close to God. If you're not fed, then there's no way that you can actually then be close to God.
Guru, I want to thank you. Firstly, again, I want to thank you for texting me. I get a lot of trolls on social media and I actually get a lot of threats, which I don't want to get into. And it's funny, people think I'm against people. I'm not. I'm against powers and spiritual principalities. And I'm not going to say this publicly where I'm going, but in the month of August, I'm going over to a nation that everyone's telling me, don't go, don't go, don't go, don't go. It's frightening. But I'm going there for the people. I'm not going there for the government. I'm going there for the people because the people want to learn how to prosper. And even with some of my own family saying, Pat, why are you going to this place? I said, because I can, because they invited me. Well, what happens if they whip you on the street? They're not going to do that. And here's why, because I go to help. I go to help the people. I want to talk about one last thing. War's broken out.
Mm.
And I always thought the battlefield for Pakistan and India was mainly on the cricket field, and I don't mean that because they're great cricketing nations. What is this about? Guru, tell us what
Well,
is.
it's about mixing religion and politics at the end of the day, but it started in 1947 when the countries were created, when they shouldn't have really been created. I mean, imagine all that money that's gone into war. By the way, we all know who profits from war, right?
Yeah.
Instead, it'd be used for something great. Instead of creating a country like Pakistan, which has historically harbored terrorists. I mean, guess where they found bin Laden,
Yeah.
right? Let's call it what it is. We do not need to create, and the issue with Pakistan, the people are beautiful.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
politicians and aren't in control of the country. The army's in control of the country, and the army has extremism there. The issue is they trained terrorists to go into India. There was a Mumbai terror attacks. India did not retaliate. It tried to seek peace through diplomacy. And recently in Kashmir, which my family's actually settled in Jammu and Kashmir, that particular state, which is on the border of India and Pakistan, they sent terrorists there. Some of them were actually ex-military. They found out since, and actually killed 26 people. And so Operation Sindoor, which was launched today, is a retaliation not to Pakistan, but retaliation, and they've directly attacked where they believe the terrorists to be hiding, even though it is in Pakistani soil.
Yeah. Nobody wins out of
Yes.
these things. And sadly, obviously, it's the innocent that suffer the most, while the
That's right.
bureaucrats go hiding and live in luxury. And quite frankly, Australia, it's no different here. It's the people that suffer. The politicians, Labor, Green, Liberal, they still get their wages. They still get their money. They don't pay for their electricity, their petrol like you and I have to. But Guru, I want to thank you for being on here. And I want to thank you for being a great friend, 15 years. And I've got to tell you, that mustache is looking, it's a killer mustache, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. It's become the signature now. And Pat, to you and everyone that follows you, I just want to leave you with this. If you're an immigrant, seek to make the world you live in a better place. And if you're not an immigrant, do exactly the same.
Yep. Beautiful thoughts. And thank you so much, Guru.